In Laserfiche Cloud, how do we make it so our form dynamically reacts on field changes? In this video, we'll show you how. So a quick Google search for the LFForm object will lead us to the LFForm object documentation on Laserfiche. In this, we have onFieldChange function, the function to call when a specific field changes. Now, in order to fill this, we're assuming you have two prerequisites, one being Laserfiche, either Forms 11 or Cloud, and some kind of coding text editor. I use Visual Studio Code for Windows, for example. Once we have those two things, we open up Laserfiche. Inside our business processes, if you're not sure where to find it, we have a ticker in the top right and then the business processes link. Once we're there, click on the green New button at the top left and then click on Blank Process. We will then name our process and click Create. Once our process is instantiated, we have a toolbar on the left side. We will click on the Forms icon and then create New Form. We'll name our form whatever we like and then make sure Use Form Designer is selected for Form Designer type. We'll click on Create and then we have a drag and drop interface. Okay. On the left side, we have a toolbox. We will grab a single line variable and drag it into the center of our page. And then we will also grab a collection variable and drag that onto the center of the page. Now, collection is kind of like a table in that it will house a bunch of different variables that you place inside of it. For example, I put two single line variables in there and I have an add button underneath the collection. When I click add, those fields will populate into a new row. Click save when you have that finished and then we'll open up our text editor. In our coding text editor, we will begin by calling the LFForm object. Make sure all the case matches as shown. We will then call the onFieldChange function, and then we will call the event parameter. We're just calling an event, and then we will log it to the console, console.log, event, the parameter that we pass through, and then we will make sure this responds to field ID 1. We will then Control A, select all, Control C, copy, and then we will move over to our JavaScript tab in the top right. We click on the JS icon, make sure that it is on the inline tab, Control V, paste, and then we will hit save, and then we have an eyeglass function to preview the page just to the right of it. We click on that, and what I like to do is lock the screen to the left by using the Windows key plus the left arrow. Then I press F12 for the developer tools, which brings up the console. Make sure the console tab selected. And once we begin typing the single line, we should have text on the right side. And we don't. And there's a reason for this, being that we use the incorrect field ID number. When we click the JS tab, you can see handles pop above every field, and that will say which field ID is being used for which variable. We could see that single line variable was a field ID of 2, so we're going to change that in our coding text editor and then select all of it, copy it, and then go back to our JavaScript tab in Laserfiche, paste over it, save it, and then hit preview. After we hit preview, F12 for developer tools in Google Chrome, and we'll begin typing. And you can see that an event object does appear every time we put a new value in the line. And this event object has a bunch of useful information about it. For example, what field changed and the text that changed within. Notice that our collection fields have not changed because we never actually assigned that function to either of those IDs. And rather than copy the first line, we are going to use an array to subscribe each field to that event. So I started a variable, a constant variable called subscription, and then I use the brackets to denote it's an array. And within each array value, I will place the field ID that I want the function to happen with. Then I use the .forEach method. So this is for each value in the array, and the value I will call field. It will execute the first line of the function, the LFForm object, onFieldChange. We will call the event parameter, console log the event. You can basically copy the top except for one little nuance. Because we don't want it to respond to just field ID 2 all the time, I'm going to call each field value by calling the field that we pass through, making sure the object ID is field ID, and then I will call the key of each field because each one is an object passed through. And I will also make sure I have the correct fields used. So I will start with the collection itself, and then each single line within that collection. Again, check your field ID handles if it doesn't seem to be working. We copy it all and we paste over our JavaScript, we save it, we preview it, and we open up our developer tools, look inside the console, and we will begin typing, and you can see that each field indeed has a responding event. Now, if I click the add button in the collection, notice that the event will not populate. So you can't actually dynamically respond to a collection field being added or a row being added in Laserfiche. But you can see that when they are added, that we actually still get the event. And if we open the options key in the event, we can see that there's an index of 2 in the last event that we placed in, because that would be the third row of what we just typed in. Now, if you also have event changes on single line fields or that single variable outside of a collection, you will also get an index, but it will be -1 because there are no other collections or rows to be added or sets to be added in that. So that's just a little difference. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will have GitHub links to the code that we used in this video, as well as links to some of the other tools. I'm hoping to make this a 4-part series so we can show you really how dynamic JavaScript can be in your Laserfiche forms. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you in the next one.